Sports Sunday.
Live and local, it's time for Fan Sports Sunday. If the weekend is a big desert for sports talk, think of this show as an oasis.
Yes, here we go.
Come drink from our pool of hot takes as you quench your thirst with. I thought I was going somewhere, but I'm not. So let's just start the show.
That's right here on Fan Sports Sunday, 97.1 The Fan. He is the legend, Mr. Tim May. I am Matt Fontana. We got you over the next hour, getting into Reds baseball today, and plenty to get to. As it's rare that in sports or something happens where instantly you go, it'll never be the same again. It'll never be exactly the same again. Tim, how you living on a Sunday? And we have that with this huge, massive ruling in college sports. We'll talk a lot about it. Tim, you've been covering this a long time, and this is one of those things, it'll never go back to the way things were.
Yeah, the problem is it should have been this way a long time ago. And, reality bites, right? And that's one of these things. It's finally gotten to this point where you have to share the revenue you generate due to the efforts primarily of college athletes. And good for them. I've been advocating that almost since I became a sports writer. I just couldn't understand how you could be making millions and then billions and not sharing it in a meaningful way. And, said this many times, the NCAA, which is the member schools, kicked the can so far down the road that somebody else stepped in and started paying the players, which was NIL. And they got away with that for a few years, but you knew it wasn't going to last with all the lawsuits that were hanging around out there. But, Matt, the problem where we are right now is this just opens a Pandora's box of possible legal activity, which will, I think, dominate the scene over the next 4, 5, 8 years, and it's still really not clear how Title IX will figure into all of this, because there is no blanket solution that's going to appease everybody in this kind of deal when there's so much money involved. But it does lean heavily, like it should, at least initially, on the sports that actually generate revenue, which is what revenue sharing definitively should be about. But it's also not fair to leave others behind.
Right, and that's the thing. You need to make that revenue to then share it, and that's inherently going to fall kind of on football and men's basketball. So let's get everybody up to speed, because this did happen kind of late on Friday about what happened. So this goes back months. And to your point, Tim, this has been years brewing. And it finally kind of came to a head where there were lawsuits filed over the revenue sharing, and really a lot of lawyers representing Division I athletes of the past. So finally a settlement comes down from Judge Claudia Wilkin, and she approves the following deal. The NCAA will pay back nearly $2.8 billion in back damages over the next 10 years to athletes who competed in college from any time from 2016 to the present day. That's the back end of it. That's going back to basically make restitution to players that were making money for the NCAA over the past decade. They will get their money over the next decade. Now, going forward, this is where things will change. Starting on July 1st, schools can pay their athletes up to a certain limit. The annual cap is expected to start at roughly $20 million, $20.5 million, and then eventually increase as it goes on. And I think, Tim, this is where it's going to be the understanding of where does that money go, or how much does it go to here versus there. But there is no NIL. There is no I'm just going to call it for what it is, Tim, because I think you and I feel the same way maybe on this. NIL is a fraud. It was a joke to try to figure out a way to get this done. I wanted the athletes to get paid. They deserve to get paid. NIL was just a step towards that, and I'm happy that they were able to find that way. But this is truly the model where there's nothing tied to what you're doing. You're going to play this sport. This sport makes X dollars. You are going to get a cut of that and move on from there. And we'll get to this article later, which I think is really interesting, on some winners and losers of this whole thing. But it basically clears the way for each school to pay their athletes. How that gets divided up, and as the dollar amounts go up, that's what's going to change over the years. But that's basically what came down on Friday. And, as we started the show talking about, college athletics will never be the same. The amateurism that is college athletics is over. It has, to your point, been for a while, but now it's officially done.
Yeah, I mean, NIL's not going away, though. I mean, the interesting thing is now NIL deals are going to be scrutinized, anything over $600, which is kind of makes you laugh. It kind of reminds you of the old days in the NCAA. But what they're going to be scrutinized as to their legitimacy. But what is legitimacy, right? If you're a, quote, for example, a car dealer and you determine – I won't throw a real name out there, but Joe Blow, quarterback for Ohio State, can help you generate revenue. Forget about the revenue he's helping generate for the school, but can help you generate revenue, get, people in the door, and you think that worth is $500,000 a year. Well, that's where the next rub is going to come is, that you're going to have this arbitrary or arbitration arm that's going to determine what's legit and what's not, but then it's still going to go to court. Many of these deals are going to go to court because it's already been established in one form or fashion what a guy is or isn't worth to you from a rubbing shoulder standpoint. So, that's what's funny. The NIL originally was intended for guys to be able to get free hamburgers for a year from a certain place if you backed them, or $10,000 from this company for doing a few commercials for them. But it quickly morphed into pay for play. Yeah. But yet, who better determines the worth of a person to you being affiliated with you than the person who's paying you that money?
Yes,
and
the business
so that's going to be
how much they bring in the door, right?
Yeah, that's going to be the rub, and the attorneys are already lined up to deal with that rub. So, like I said, this is just really opening the door.
And I think it's also interesting when you talk about that dollar amount, where it's $20 million for the school. Tim, there were football programs, or at least in the NIL sphere, there were football teams that had rosters of 20 million. That doesn't include basketball. That doesn't include tennis. That doesn't include all these other sports. And I do want to get in that discussion with you coming up about the unfortunate side of this, where there might be some sports kind of left behind, and now how athletic departments view non-revenue sports. And we've seen that across the country, where there are programs that are getting cut at schools because they're not getting enough revenue brought in, no matter that. Yes, it's going to be hard for tennis or wrestling programs or things like that to really turn a dollar, but they should still be preserved for the sanctity of the game, for the sanctity of the people that play those sports. But now that it is turning towards this, it's going to be the wild, wild west of if you're not making us money, if you don't have people watching you, if you don't have subscriptions on here, it's going to be harder to do. And then I also think the other side of it, which is kind of what you were talking about, these lawyers lining up, as this happens now, this is going to open the door to unionization. And this is going to open the door for a pact for the athletes to get together. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because they have rights about the things that should be put in place in that, but it's just another step towards what we all know it's going, and that's professional.
Yeah,
and that is going to be what these athletes are. They are professionals. They now have contracts. They have rights in a union that might get formed one day, and that's where just the NCAA, I don't understand how they're going to stand here and still think what they're doing or their overseeing of things is going to be viable, because every single step out of the way, Tim, I think they're just getting cut out. They're not even needed anymore.
I've got a guy named Jim Cavall who is on my latest Tim May Show podcast, which posted Thursday. But we were talking about this was, we didn't know when the ruling was going to come down, but he's an organizer for athletes.org, which is trying to, he's already got like 4,500 to 5,000 current college athletes involved or signed up for it. But, the word that nobody wants to say is contracts. Even student athletes, for the most part, don't want to say contracts. And by the way, as he pointed out, student athletes is really a slur, because it was the way to explain back in the old days, under the Walter Byers days of the NCAA, of why these men and women weren't sharing in any of the revenue, because they're student athletes. They're going to school. They're getting their scholarship. They're getting books paid for on full scholarship, et cetera. They don't need any more money. So it was a way to keep them down on the farm, for want of another term. But that's what's coming, is that challenge. But in order to have a union, I think you have to be employees, for the most part. And so we'll see if that organization finally follows, because I've always said for many years now, the key term is contracts. And unless people are under contract, you don't really have control over them. But then people under contract or employees then can organize and have a seat at the table. So the seat at the table for the athletes, from the athlete side of things, is what's coming next.
And I think the hard thing is with that contract, what does that inherently bring? A requirement to play. If we sign contracts, then I'm giving you a service, and therefore I have to play. So
but not necessarily. It would give the school, it would give the head coach more, whoever's running the program, more clout on the fact that you can't necessarily just jump into the transfer portal, or you can't. Those little things. I mean, nobody's guaranteed getting to play one way or the other. It's more of like you have a hold on that person. And with 105 scholarships, for example, in football that's coming, that's really not enough players, but you're going to be capped. You're going to be capped at 105 for your roster in college football, and that's going to really hurt people who walked on. I mean, in all other different sports, you're going to be capped at certain levels, and that'll be the next challenge.
It's going to be tough, and I feel like the NCAA, just everything right now is a sprint to try to catch up. Just in the last 5 years, to go to NIL, to go to the transfer portal, to now being paid employees, for lack of a better term, for the NCAA moving forward, just how fast it's gone. They got to catch up. There's still some things they need to figure out. But now that we kind of got the groundwork laid out, everybody understands where we're at, let's talk specific Ohio State. I can't wait to do that with Tim when we come back. What is the impact to the Buckeyes, the football program, maybe some of the other programs that we think this might actually really help out with the groundbreaking judgment coming down on Friday, where student athletes are now going to get paid directly from the schools, amongst a lot of other things. We got plenty to get to. Keep it locked right here. Fan Sports Sunday on The Fan.
We're the highest-rated sports radio station in America. There's no joke there. We just are. The Fan, Ohio's sports destination.
The most common form of treatment for the arthritic joints is normally cortisone injections and gel shots and over-the-counter medications. And most patients have tried all of that and are still in pain.
Every day, Dr. Aaron Wolkoff, a QC Kinetics medical director, meets patients who have exhausted every method to get relief. They've been told surgery is their only option.
They want to stay away from that path, and they come to us almost as a last hope. So we're using our own body's properties to help manage pain, to help slow arthritis down, keep the patients active with no downtime, and getting back to what they enjoy doing. I mean, I love what I do.
QC Kinetics regenerative treatments from our board-certified providers help heal and restore aching joints. No surgery, harmful drugs, or downtime. Call for your free consultation today.
Call QC Kinetics, 380-208-4544. That's 380-208-4544. 380-208-4544.
Hi, this is Bob Masheter from Dick Masheter Ford. Thank you to all of Central Ohio as we head towards 60 years of doing business in the Buckeye State. Dad opened up in 1967 simply trying to offer a better way to buy a car, and we've been working ever since to serve our neighbors. We have served you through wars, recessions, and even a Chinese virus. Here is to serving you and your kids and your grandkids for the next 60 years, except on Sundays when we're closed, because it's the right thing to do. Still 24/7 at MasheterFord.net. Thanks.
Breaking news coming in from Bet365, and it's no surprise. Same game parlay from Bet365 just keeps getting better.
Well, it's even easier to make a bet. Choose from the most popular markets like hits, run line, totals, and home runs. So many to choose from.
Download the app, start building your bet, and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Ohio. T&Cs apply.
Hey there, friends. Bo Bishop here, and so are the summer savings at RCD RV. Don't miss RCD RV's summer kickoff sale running June 7th through the 21st. New RVs starting as low as $12,995. Now's the time to make a splash this summer. Hurry in. Those deals will not last long. Find unbeatable savings, unforgettable fun, and everything you need to hit the road at RCDRV.com. Visit our locations, Delaware, Heath, and Pataskala, or shop online anytime at RCDRV.com.
Reds fans, get your tickets now to watch Ellie De La Cruz and your Cincinnati Reds take on Aaron Judge and the New York Yankees in a 3-game series, June 23rd through the 25th, presented by Kroger Zero Hunger, Zero Waste. Don't miss this exciting matchup against the reigning American League champions. To catch all the action at Great American Ballpark, call 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com/tickets.
This promo is for anyone who likes baseball or America or Terry Francona's scooter. The Reds are on the Fan. Catch all 162 games here on the Fan and 1460 ESPN Columbus and the Fan's HD2. Your home for Reds baseball, the Fan.
Lanny went to college and racked up huge debt.
A little bit over $100,000.
For a degree he couldn't use, now what?
I had a friend that went to my computer career.
They even helped him get hired immediately after graduation.
One of the things I love about IT is that you can work from anywhere you want.
You could become an IT pro in just months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu.
It worked for me, and I know it can work for you.
This is one student's experience. Individual results vary.
Get ECO.
ECO. Hey, Jerry, I think I invented something. Does it solve a problem? It solves a big problem.
Get ECO.
ECO. Heating and cooling companies are telling people your furnace and AC isn't worth fixing. You need to replace it with a whole new system.
You invented a solution for that?
I invented a way to fix those systems for free.
Get ECO.
ECO.
That's a great invention. How does it work?
Step 1 is to pay ECO to fix it.
I thought you said you'd fix it for free.
Step 2 is that we give you back all the money that you paid us, up to $1,500 when you get ECO to replace it.
Get ECO.
ECO.
What if your repair keeps my system running for several more years?
That would mean you got all those extra years for free.
Paying ECO to fix your AC system is like putting money in the bank.
Get ECO.
ECO.
Get ECO.
ECO.
Get ECO.
ECO. ECO plumbers, electricians, and HVAC technicians.
GetEco.com.
Going up. Prices keep going up these days. It feels like being on an elevator that only goes up. Going up. But not at Metro. We're pushing the down button. Going down. We've lowered prices. Get one line of 5G data for $40. Period. That's 20% lower. And you get a free Samsung 5G phone when you bring your number. Only at Metro.
5-year guarantee on eligible plans. Exclusions apply. See website for details. Not available at Metro with T-Mobile in the past 6 months. Tax applies.
Fan weather.
From the Logan AC and Heat Services Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Aaron White with your 10 weather impact forecast here. For our Sunday, we're still tracking a few showers lingering into this afternoon. High temperatures around 75 degrees. For tonight, clear to partly cloudy with lows around 62. And then for your Monday, we'll see highs around 75 with a chance for showers and thunderstorms. And then by Tuesday, drier conditions with highs in the 70s, but warming things up with more sunshine and highs in the 80s here for Wednesday and Thursday. And that's a look at your 10 weather impact forecast here on 97.1 The Fan.
Common Man, a radio veteran, has a large hemorrhoid. Timmy Hall, a good, clean boy, moonlights as man's hemorrhoid. Common Man and Timmy.
Weekdays at 3.
The Fan. Garnish your Bloody Mary with sports talk. You're listening to Fan Sports Sunday.
Matt Fontana and Tim May with you on Fan Sports Sunday. We'll be taking you up to Reds baseball as they try to go for the sweep against the Diamondbacks. Grand slam from Gavin Lux last night in a 13-1 rout. We're talking about the college side of things with a groundbreaking settlement that came out last week and the impact on Ohio State. So a judge okaying a settlement for previous athletes, and some of those currently work at the Fan, by the way, so congratulations to them. Some of those athletes going to get a couple of checks from the past, but the big thing moving forward is how the NCAA will allow schools to pay their own players for it. There's going to be a cap on it for a couple of years. It'll kind of go up. It'll obviously be heavy towards college football, men's basketball, the revenue type of sports. Tim, I wanted to just get your thoughts on Ohio State, because the first thing that I thought of when I saw this whole thing was the cap, and it's $20.5 million for the school. Mm-hmm. And I was like, a school like Ohio State, that's what they were getting in NIL for just the football program. Like, I think this is a great step forward for college athletics. And to your point, there still is going to be the NIL world that is out there. But I think it's one of those things I don't know. Just your thoughts. Do you think this is a giant advantage for Ohio State as a school?
Well, the interesting thing is going to be trying to see how many schools actually reach that 20.5 million cap. I mean, not every school is going to get there, obviously, from the standpoint of sharing the revenue. Yeah, I mean, it's the idea of a cap is in essence to level the playing field, and you got to figure Ohio State's going to spend in the range of 14, 15, maybe $16 million of that cap on its football team, and another 3 or 4 million on his men's basketball team, and and obviously some on its women's basketball team. How much that leaves for everything else, like Ty Tucker's great tennis program. Nick Myers turned around men's lacrosse program, for example, right on down the line. I mean, that's I'm not sure that's been etched in stone yet. And the other thing is all of these programs have proven to be valuable to Ohio State in one form or fashion. And Ohio State runs, 35, 36 varsity sports, which is about 14 or 15 more than Alabama and Texas, just to give you a relative sense of what Ohio State and Ross Bjork are dealing with compared to the others. But you're not going to see the revenue sharing on a grand scale for the rest of the sports in terms of the amount of money involved. But NIL collectives, NIL opportunities are still going to be there for those sports and the athletes that are involved in them. So that's going to be determined over the next year or two on how that all works out. But clearly, Ross Bjork is not the only athletic director saying this. You got to keep football healthy. I mean, that football fuels more is a better term, the machine. And so you've got to keep football as healthy as possible and make sure that's going. But football's also going to have the football players are going to share much more of the NIL collective money and NIL opportunities than any other sport. Anybody can see that, at least at most of the major schools.
And I think major schools is a good point that you brought up there, Tim, because another part of this is where is this revenue going to come from? And 60% of it is going to come from the Power of Five schools. And that's pretty much saying that football is driving the ship here, as it has for a long time, for the NCAA and for a lot of those individual schools. So to your exact point of what you're talking about, keeping football healthy, that's not even just a school thing. That's a conference thing. That's an NCAA thing. And that has got to be it. And I'm with you so much on what you were talking about there, because I get that there's going to be a difference. There's always going to be a gap. And I think in a broader sense of it, that's life. There's just always going to be some of these things where football, as much as I am a giant wrestling fan, and I love what Tom Ryan has built at Ohio State, and I watch every match, and I'm a big fan, I know that wrestling will never touch football. As much as I would like it to, it just doesn't. But football helps to bring the money in to pay for all these other sports to continue to operate. And that's one of the things I've loved about Ohio State, and I will love about Ohio State for a long time. To your point, they have so many varsity sports. They have sports that they have kept around, even maybe at the detriment or hasn't been making money. And I think as this goes on about the revenue sharing, it might be an unfortunate part that some athletic departments are going to have to make tough decisions, and they're going to have to look really hard at schools. I guess I have that hope that it won't be at Ohio State, but it might be.
Well, yeah, but the desire is going to be try to keep as many sports as you can, and but then to implement that, you're going to maybe see fewer big time, for example, trips, for let's say women's softball. It's just softball because they don't play men's softball, but for softball, for maybe golf or whatever. But some of these sports are backed by a pretty healthy alumni base, which help them with like travel costs and things like that too. So, everything's going to have a balance to it. I think you're going to see more of a regional approach when it comes to scheduling, except for, of course, the Big Ten. You go all the way to the West Coast, right? because the Big Ten goes coast to coast, just like the as I call it, the PACC conference, the Pacific Athletic the Pacific Atlantic Coast Conference goes coast to coast, right on down the line. So you're going to see things morph in that term. And Ross Bjork's talked about that in the past too. You're not going to have as much money available to make big time, for example, trips. So you figure out a way to keep things regional, and you deal with it that way. I know, like I've said, I was talking to the Bowling Green athletic director when he was in town for that Eddie George Urban Meyer event several weeks ago, and already the MAC, that level of schools, even though in the NCAA's eyes, Ohio U and Ohio State are the same thing, they are not, and everybody knows it. They're looking much more to a regional kind of point of view, and many of those conferences have already been discussing that, how that's going to look in terms of scheduling and those kind of things. So getting back to what you're talking about, there will be sports at Ohio State that will take a hit, but you may not even notice it. It's like it's just everybody's going to have to adjust. The interesting thing is going to be, are you going to equalize or as close as possible bring parity to the playing field for softball as you have done for football? I'm talking about on the Power 4 level of things. That'll be the next interesting thing to watch. I mean, obviously you look at baseball, with the SEC getting 6 of the top 8 seeds in the national tournament for baseball, how are things going to change on that level? Because some of the Southeastern Conference places actually generate revenue with their baseball and softball programs. So, share and share alike. I mean, it's not going to necessarily be the same. It's a very interesting time because college sports have never been their parity's never been part of the deal, even though they've tried to work it out in terms of number of scholarships available to each sport. But the actual parity aspect of it is foreign to everybody involved with college sports.
And I think the other part of that as well, when you talk about those other sports, they still are getting scholarships. And again, I want everybody to be able to get their piece of it. But at the end of the day, they have been able to increase some of those sports. You talked about earlier the cap for scholarships in football now going over to 100. Volleyball going up on scholarships. Again, I was talking about Ohio State wrestling. Like, there was a time not too long ago that they would ask kids to take a quarter scholarship.
Sure.
Or they would have to get a half a scholarship because they didn't have enough to go around and they could only give full scholarships to some people. That's not the case anymore now that they have so many that they can hand out. So there's been impact in a positive light on some of those other sports. While it's not exactly just a check, it's still...
But you're still going to have squads that are limited in terms of number.
Yeah.
So,
that's true.
Like men's basketball, I think, is going to go up to 15 scholarship limit, meaning 15 member squad limit, and football is supposed to go to 105 after. See, this judge, Claudia Wilkins, she grandfathered in the fact that people who have been around can't just necessarily be suddenly cast aside, walk-ons and things like that who've applied just to get to a certain number. That should be done over a couple of years or so until their scholarships run out. We'll see if that's challenged or how that goes, because most schools are already gearing up to go away from that and go ahead and adopt whatever the limit is and reduce their squads accordingly. So, there are all kinds of things that still need to happen, Matt. It's like I said, the best way to put it, it's going to be an interesting scenario to watch.
Yeah, they've made it now, and to your point now, here comes, and I'm going to say fallout because I can't really come up with another word, but it's like they've made this, now there's going to be other things to continue on to kind of get figured out. All right, speaking of that, I found this article really interesting, and I want to get Tim's thoughts on it, where it's the winners and the losers of this discussion and the change of the House v. NCAA settlement. So I want to run through some of them with Tim and just think about the winners and the losers of this whole thing. We'll get to the pro side of things. There was some talk about Justin Fields and his time to the Jets. We'll get all that coming up. This is Fan Sports Sunday. Back in 2 minutes.
It's been a great run. Care Heating and Cooling has achieved goals I could only imagine 30 years ago. But now it's time for the next generation to take over. This is Mike Weens, now the retired founder of Care Heating and Cooling with my sons, Dennis and Ryan.
Dad, as Care grew over the years, you had many opportunities to sell Care to one of the big conglomerates that are buying companies all over Central Ohio. So tell our customers why you decided to keep Care in the family.
After talking about Care's values for over 30 years, I couldn't bear the thought of Care becoming the kind of company I was warning our customers about. I know the two of you will continue to treat our customers as I would, with honesty and integrity.
We will, Dad. In 2024, Care was awarded a BBB Torch Award for Ethics and was named the Lennox Partner of the Year. You don't earn those awards by leaving cat toys behind.
Call Care Heating and Cooling at 1-800-COOLING or schedule an appointment online at careheatingandcooling.com. When you need a company you can trust.
Hey, it's Bobby Carpenter. Spring into savings at Ohio Mulch. Get your mulch as easy as ever. Save $50 on home delivery now through Sunday. All you got to do is visit ohiomulch.com today.
Ohio Mulch, landscape supply.
Legend has it, underneath the NJM insurance offices lies a mysterious room of long-forgotten, moldy mascot memorabilia. Often pitched by ad agencies, always rejected by NJM. Is it real? We may never know. But what is real is NJM's dedication to doing what's right for their customers. Astoundingly, they're proud to put policyholders first. No jingles or mascots, just great insurance. Learn more at njm.com.
Insurance underwritten by NJM Insurance Company and its subsidiaries.
Sometimes I hear a sparkling sound.
Like when we say, all you have to do is point?
There it is.
That's the sound of magic happening.
Magic like we can come the day you call us? Wow.
Call 1-800-GOT-JUNK or visit 1-800-GOT-JUNK.com.
T-Bone and Tyvus are everything you want in a delicious breakfast. Lots of empty calories, no nutritional value.
Weekday mornings from 6 to 9.
The Fan. Live, local, and still slightly drunk.
I'm not drunk, all right? I just have a speech impediment.
This is Fan Sports Sunday.
Talking everything with the NCAA after a big ruling last week about some athletes being able to be paid now, some former athletes getting paid. Got Matt Fontana, Tim May with you. We'll take you up to 1:10 this afternoon, get you ready to go for the Reds and the Diamondbacks. Cincy going for the sweep. And then tonight, we got Game 2 of the NBA Finals and catch it all right here on the Fan. So I was over on CBS Sports this morning, and John Talty went through, Tim, winners and losers of the settlement. So we've discussed a lot on the show. Basically on Friday, a judge has cleared the way for athletes over the last decade to be able to get paid back restitution, basically, from the NCAA for revenue sharing sports. And then moving forward, there will start to be a cap of $20.5 million that schools can directly hand out to their athletes as they see fit. This will obviously be heavy towards revenue sports like football and men's basketball. So let's jump into it. The first winner that they have is exactly that, the athletes in the revenue sports. We talk about football and men's basketball. I mean, Tim, like we were talking about, they're the ones that drive it. They are the engine. They bring the money in for the rest of the athletic department. And this obviously should be top priority for a lot of athletic directors. Big chunk of that pie going to those two types of programs.
Well, obviously. And, you know, how then it will be divvied, how then their portion will be divvied is going to be what's interesting to watch also. And, you know, does a third string guard get the same as the starting quarterback? No, that's probably not going to be the case. You know, I say that, I haven't seen that actually delineated, but, you know, these are going to be 1099 employees. You know what a 1099 guy is, right?
I am a 1099 employee, Tim, as you mentioned that.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, the way I look at it, it'll be 1099 because they're not going to be under contract, so to speak.
I would just tell them to self-report properly, please.
Exactly. Exactly. You know, I keep thinking that's going to be the next scandal that pops up is athletes who haven't reported their income
tax
correctly.
Evasion.
With when the IRS comes knocking, that's a whole lot different, you know, from the CSC panel. But yeah, it's, you know, that'll be interesting. I keep using the word interesting because it is interesting because this is new. This is a new. It should not be new, but it is new. And a lot of schools, like I said, Ohio State's been gearing up for this for a while. They weren't naive. They knew this in some form or fashion was coming, despite the challenges. And there are even more challenges coming. I mean, you know, like I know there's a suit out there already. I think it's brought by an athlete or somebody with the University of Tennessee that basically argues that in ipso facto, student athletes are employees. If you're getting paid for doing a job. You are in essence an employee, but the benefits are going to come from a health standpoint or a healthcare standpoint and things like that. That remains to be seen. A lot of stuff still has to be, for one of another term, arbitrated, and find out how. So will that be part of the worth of your revenue share? Now we are now providing, for example, healthcare coverage for you. Yeah. So we will take it out of your revenue share. It's so, I don't know. It's going to be strange, man.
As we're sitting there, when you get your check, you get paid weekly, monthly, every other week. You get your check, and then, here's Social Security taken out. Here's your state tax. Here's your local tax. And then 401k match, and then your health care, and then wait a minute, I have a spouse.
Yeah,
Can I bring my spouse?
But if you're not an employee, that doesn't necessarily get taken out. So it'll be, it's kind of a morass, really. I mean, like we were talking about a couple of days ago. Matter of fact, Patrick Murphy and I were in here. We did the Buckeye show on Friday night talking about when will this come down, and of course, as usual with most federal court rulings, it came down at like 9:30 at night, right? An hour and a half after we got done. But this opens so many more questions and so many more legal loopholes that lawyers are going to drive straight through and challenge. But at least finally athletes are going to share in the revenue.
So, again, winners and losers here from CBS Sports. First winner, the big money sports, football and men's basketball, their athletes. A loser in this one is amateurism, which I think is, we all held that sanctity of, for a lot of Olympic sports, it was, you still had to be an amateur. Or like, if you're a big golf fan, they allowed, some amateurs can play in tournaments, but they must remain an amateur. Or guys that flip as soon as they get done with the tournament come Monday, now they're a pro. And I think it's, Tim, I don't want to make light of it or kind of make fun of it, but I think amateurism in sports has been gone a long time. And
of course
they want to hold on to it. And
the Olympic model. The Olympic model is what everybody bases. Well, it's been gone from the Olympics for a very long time. I mean, look who's won the last 2 Olympic gold medals in golf. You know what I mean? So, it's been gone a long time. Really, the NCAA was, in essence, the last bastion for it. I mean, there are some states that now allow high school kids to even have NIL deals, for example. And so, it's been gone a long time. It was really, like we said earlier, the argument that you're getting a full scholarship, which means tuition, room, and board, and a stipend to live on, was as far as the NCAA for a long time would even go. And then they finally, the NIL got driven down their throat. And so the transfer portal, they came on board at exactly the same time, and everything just blew up. But then there are former athletes who thought they should have been sharing in the revenue long ago. I think this goes back to 2016, former athletes who will be getting checks on this settlement also, not to be forgotten. So a lot of the players on that 2014 national championship team for Ohio State in football would like to share in it also. But who came up with the 2016?
I don't know, because you think about some of the popular Braxton Millers and guys like that. Yeah. How much money he would have made? Is JT in that? He was around by then, right? Or he was still there?
Who? JT
Barrett.
So he'll get some of the money.
He'll get
16 to 17, right? 17 was his last season. So it'll be. Like I said, it's barely started, and how the checks will come. I think they're going to be allowed to make up those payments over like a 10-year span. If I do believe the reparations, for one of another term, for those guys. It's guys and gals. Wow. What an interesting time.
It is. A couple other winners in this thing. We'll run through a couple quick here. Obviously, winner, the Big Ten and the SEC, because they're going to be a big part of this. The 2 richest conferences are going to get even more now from the playoff and the TV rights as we go through it. They also say a winner of collective bargaining, which we talked about if they end up getting into a union and things like that. But 2 other losers on this list. Number 1, the Group of 5 schools, because as they just write, and you kind of brought this up earlier, Tim, which is so right, they're not going to be able to fully fund a $20.5 million cap. I know that's the max that you can do, but there is no minimum that you're required to do. And there are just going to be some schools out there that is in no way ever going to be in their budget to be able to hand that out. And, I say that to say this, where I would sit there and say that could be negative, where I think, and I don't want to disparage anybody, so you're thinking about a group of 5 school. We all know who they are. Mm-hmm. And they sit down in a young recruit's living room, and they're talking to them, and they're talking to their mom and their dad, and, trying to make their decision. And they say, well, what's your revenue share situation right now? Well, we can only offer you this. Okay, here comes big Power of 5 school. Oh, yeah, 2 times that amount, 3 times that amount. It's going to be different, but that gap was always going to be there. Where
the gap's been there forever.
It's been there, and I just don't know how much that changed. So I think it's going to be harder for some of the group of 5 schools, but it's something that they've had to battle with for so many years now.
Yet, football rosters are at the top line schools are going to be capped at 105 people, meaning you're not going to have 120, 125 players or whatever on your roster, walk-ons, et cetera. They will matriculate downward, for want of another term, to those other schools to have the opportunity to play. In some ways, it can help those. The lesser 5 conferences, for want of another term. It can help them from the standpoint of maybe a bigger pool of players available. And what's got to come next? You got to figure is some kind of control in some form or fashion on the transfer portal. Because, really those guys get robbed from the bottom up. They get robbed as things go along in the transfer portal. A player who really excels all of a sudden, like, for example, Logan George came to Ohio State from Idaho State, and he was going to be a hell of a player at Idaho State this coming season, but now he's playing defensive end at Ohio State. There's an example of you're still going to be upwardly mobile, but there will be fewer slots for the big time schools to necessarily hide guys who are walk-ons who could definitely be playing at the next level.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It'll all shake out where we can't forget about the transfer portal and how much that can kind of, I don't want to say equal things, but it's just, there's like 15 things going on right now, and they got to try to consolidate some of it and get some of it figured out. I want to flip over to the pro side of things, but still be talking about the Buckeyes, because there was an interesting article put out from on SI talking about Justin Fields and where he's at with his time in the New York Jets, and could this be his last shot to prove that he is a starting quarterback in the NFL? We'll discuss all that coming up. Matt Fontana, Tim May, this is The Fan on Fan Sports Sunday.
Wake up with the Fan. Eat lunch with the Fan. Go to bed with the Fan. Dream about the Fan. Then change your sheets. Gross.
Ew, you guys are gross, but stick around in case I don't find anyone else.
The Fan.
Reds fans, get your tickets now to watch Ellie De La Cruz and your Cincinnati Reds take on Aaron Judge and the New York Yankees in a 3-game series, June 23rd through the 25th, presented by Kroger Zero Hunger, Zero Waste. Don't miss this exciting matchup against the reigning American League champions. To catch all the action at Great American Ballpark, call 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com/tickets.
He shoots, he scores! No matter your sport, it's a great time of year to be a fan. But the fun stops when you or a loved one can't control your gambling. At Maryhaven, we're here to help. Whether it's gambling, drugs, alcohol, or mental health, you don't have to go it alone. With in-person, virtual, and group options, Maryhaven meets you where you are. Always judgment-free. Go to maryhaven.com today. That's maryhaven.com.
Hey there, friends. Bo Bishop here. Spring weather has arrived, and we all know what that brings. Warmer weather and severe storms. Well, when bad weather hits, we all know it can cause leaky roofs or even damage to your siding and gutters. The Roofing Guys are your local experts in roofing, siding, and gutters and more, providing top quality through every roof, every time. So it's just a small repair, full replacement, or even peace of mind. You need to contact my guys, the Roofing Guys, 614-626-7000, or visit them at theroofingguys.com. That's theroofingguys.com.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now. I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code GEAR for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code GEAR for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code GEAR.
I'm an old school Joe. I never lay juice I don't want to lay. I don't hate my money like that. I'd rather lay minus 108 than minus 110, wouldn't you? Prime Sports is Ohio's full-time reduced juice sports book. Download the Prime Sports Ohio app or visit our website, primesportsbook.com. Get a welcome bonus to match your initial deposit up to $400 in bonus bets. And be a member of the Prime Sports family.
Terms and conditions apply. Visit website for details. Must be 21 and present in Ohio. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Most radio stations suck. Here's why. They don't invest in local programming. We're live and local 14 hours a day. You can rest assured that every stupid thing we say is 100% local. Homegrown dumb since day one. The Fan.
You had a solid retirement dream. Sell your home in a few years, bank the equity, downsize, and travel. But with an unpredictable economy and the future feeling uncertain, you're wondering if that equity will still be there when you're ready. What if you could bank that equity right now? With Truehold, you can sell your home for its current value, so you can access your equity today. You can bank the cash now and stay in the home you love with an easy standard lease. Truehold even covers property taxes, insurance, and repairs. And since Truehold hands over your equity in cash now, it's yours to do whatever you'd like. Don't let a shifting economy put your hard-earned equity at risk. Visit Truehold.com and receive their competitive offer on your home in just 48 hours, based on its current value, not what's coming. Call 1-855-300-9993 or visit Truehold.com. The smarter, faster way to cash out on your home's value without moving. That's Truehold.com.
Did you want information on the Ohio Lottery's Easy Play games? Okay. Easy Play games have everything needed to play printed on the ticket, so you never wait for a drawing. And with Easy Play Progressive games, they can instantly win the game's jackpot, which oftentimes grow and grow to over $1 million. All lottery players are subject to Ohio laws and commission regulations. Play responsibly. Want another commercial? Okay.
Hey, it's Anthony for Orthopedic One. I'm not invincible anymore. I never was, but I refuse to punt on things I still love to do. That's why over the past several years, when I've had things creep up, like back pain, shoulder issue, elbow problem, I've had it all, I've always chosen Orthopedic One. That's because Orthopedic One is Ohio's largest physician-owned orthopedic practice with 60 physicians in every specialty. Find a physician or location near you at orthopedic1.com. Orthopedic One. This is where you go to get better.
All your favorite Fan shows are available when you want them.
Head to 971thefan.com and hit that subscribe button.
The Fan, Ohio sports destination. During weekend programming, pants are optional.
Look at my butt!
However, leather chairs may have been a bad choice. You're listening to Fan Sports Sunday.
You only get so many opportunities, even as a former first-round pick, to prove that you can be the guy. Head over to NFL.com. Nick Shook runs through a lot of players that are in a crossroads of their career. A couple former Buckeyes as a make-or-break candidate. We'll talk about it right here on Fan Sports Sunday. Welcome back. I'm Matt Fontana. Tim May with you. We'll take you up to about 1:10 as we'll get you into Reds coverage as they're taking on the Diamondbacks, going for the sweep there for Cincinnati. So we'll have that coming up for you. And then later tonight as well, NBA Finals, Game 2, trying to see. I cannot believe, Tim, to say that Oklahoma City trying to even up that series after that shocker with the Pacers.
You give Halliburton the ball with a shot to go, baby, and look out. Back off.
Didn't it feel like inevitable when he was bringing the ball up? Because the rebound was contested. They handed it right to him, and I go, he's not going to do it again.
Yeah.
He did.
He's a sniper. Hey, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Some teams just seem to be charmed, at this time of the year. And that Pacers team, man, the way they dealt with the Knicks, there was a charm about them that, over and above talent and whatever, small market, whatever you want to call them, they make plays when it matters, and especially on the defensive end. So I wouldn't count the Pacers out of this at all. Heck, they're up 1-0, and they broke serve, the home court serve. So it's at least it's going to be intriguing to see how Oklahoma City recovers from being up so large and forcing all those turnovers in the first half to blowing that game one. So we'll see who battens down the hatches.
Well, it's got to feel pressure, too, on Oklahoma City. This is must win. You didn't feel like it had to be that way. You're at home, so it's going to be a lot of fun to catch. Of course, you can catch it starting at 7 tonight with the pregame right here on The Fan. So, really interesting article, Tim, from Nick Shook on NFL.com, and he wrote it as make-or-break candidates. Basically, guys going into this season that could really tell the future on their career. And there's quite a few former Buckeyes on this list. I want to start with the big one, though, and that's Justin Fields, who's now in New York. So he's obviously out of Chicago. He has the 1 year in Pittsburgh, doesn't play all that much outside of, once Russell Wilson came back from the injury. There were people that wanted him to play late in that year. And he signs the 2-year, $40 million deal. But over the cap really looked at it and said, this is basically a 1-year deal, because after this season, come June 1st, they could get rid of all but $3 million of his money for 2026. So this is his opportunity. And as Nick writes, and Tim, I'll ask you the question, do you feel like this is Justin Fields' last opportunity to prove he can be a starting quarterback in the NFL?
To be a starting quarterback in the NFL. Yeah, that's the key term, starting. It's definitely a major moment. Like I've said for a while now, he tried to carry Chicago on his back, when he went to running the ball, and just because he was so tired of losing with that team. I mean, that team had all kinds of problems, and, in my opinion, almost the least of which was Justin Fields. If you go back and watch video of their frustrations offensively, so, and then with Pittsburgh really, it wasn't really clear what Pittsburgh was trying to do with him or Russell Wilson. I mean, Russell Wilson was the senior in the room, and so he got the nod when it mattered. But then when you're in the game as a quarterback, you like I talked about Justin trying to figure out ways to win games with Chicago when the passing game clearly wasn't there on a consistent basis. He just ran. He did a little bit of that with Pittsburgh last year and stuff, but in his time there, he had I think he produced a total of 10 touchdowns during the season, 5 rushing and 5 passing, and that's just not enough numbers, because bottom line, Matt, it comes down to producing touchdowns for your starting quarterback. So can he produce touchdowns this year with the Jets? Remains to be seen. Garrett Wilson's one of my favorite people of all time, one of my favorite wide receivers of all time. There are some weapons there for him to deal with, but is the offensive line totally intact? That remains to be seen. So there comes a moment when you just got to step up and do it. As the old saying goes, it's 3rd and 11. Will Howard, throw the ball to Jeremiah Smith. You do it. You connect. Boom, you're heroes. It's the same kind of idea in the NFL from game to game, almost from play to play. You've got to show a consistency, and that's what's been lacking from Justin. But I'm not sure all of the variables were there to help him be consistent from a team basis.
I fully admit this, Tim, and I know that you just got to sometimes admit your biases. I think Justin Fields is really good, and there's people that say, did you watch him in Chicago? Of course I watched him in Chicago. Did you watch him in Pittsburgh? Yeah, and it's like, trust me, they're NFL coaches. They know a lot more football than I do, and I'm probably hooked a little. Supposedly, I would I think so. I don't know. But that's my thing, Tim. It's I look at a guy like Justin Fields and I go, that guy I know without a fact can do some things that nobody else can do. Why can you not tap into that? Why is there not something that you're able to create with him? And you hit the nail on the head. So, right, it does depend on offensive line and receivers and the scheme and all these things. I just look at him and I hope this works for him in New York, because I do have that fear that this is the last opportunity. If this goes bad, then he's just relegated to the backup and all that. But I just see a guy that athletic with that much skill, and I just go, there's no way it can go like this.
Yeah,
There's got to be somebody on tap.
Yeah, he's not Lamar Jackson, but he's close. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's a poor man's Lamar Jackson when you really get right down to it. And there's a time to hold him, time to fold him kind of cliche involved with both of those players in the way they play the game. And a lot of times Justin has just not looked comfortable, playing quarterback in the National Football League. And that once you can kind of get to a comfort factor like Lamar Jackson has achieved, then you can really do things because, you really use your feet as lethal. Are you kidding me? Weapons. He and Lamar Jackson are two guys that can run the ball, and they're going to run it, and you still got to deal with it, And for example, so that's where he's got to get to is that comfort factor, which I don't think I've ever seen him play from a comfortable in an NFL game.
That's a great point too. The comfortability of being in the system,
doing your thing,
doing your thing. Like, what am I good at, and kind of emphasizing that. I agree. All right, there's more Buckeyes on the list. I want to do them. We'll do them with Tim May when we come back. We're taking you up to Reds baseball. This is Fan Sports Sunday.
Bo Bishop is a media legend. We have no idea where the other guys came from. Bishop and Friends.
Weekdays from 9 to noon.
The Fan.
Career changers, including veterans and active duty service members. Your transition starts here. Go from GI to IT in a matter of months. Become a certified cyber warrior with training at My Computer Career. Cybersecurity specialists are in high demand, offering IT pros great opportunities and a rewarding lifestyle while protecting our people, liberty, and treasured institutions from cyber threats. Deploy your career in IT today. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. SkillBridge and other VA benefits are available to those who qualify.
This summer, elevate your backyard barbecue game with Napoleon Grills from Billiards Plus in Dublin. Experience the power of Napoleon's infrared sizzle zone, reaching up to 1,800 degrees in just 30 seconds for that perfect steakhouse sear. Stay connected with the Napoleon Home app. Monitor up to 3 temperature probes, all from your smartphone. Built to last with premium steel, the grilling season never ends with Napoleon Grills from Billiards Plus. Visit Billiards Plus on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin and transform your patio into a gourmet grilling paradise. Join the G&J Pepsi team. G&J Pepsi is a family-owned company. Learn more about our company and open positions at our hiring event. Our HR team will be on site Monday, June 9th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at 6939 Americana Parkway in Reynoldsburg. We're hiring full-time and part-time merchandisers to service the greater Columbus area. Interviews and job offers given on the spot. All positions offer competitive wages and benefits. Visit gjpepsi.com/careers for more info.
Discover uncompromising quality at a reliable price with Giant Eagle in Market District. Look for signs throughout the store highlighting lower prices. Surround yourself with savings at Giant Eagle. Experience value like never before. Visit Giant Eagle today to see how easy it is to save.
We've all got it, that one crazy thing you've always wanted to do. That bucket list goal. Then a cancer diagnosis, and that one thing still goes according to plan. I would know. I'm getting my first tattoo right now, while my 3 beautiful daughters laugh hysterically at me. 58 years old, 4 years of cancer-free checkups at Ohio Health. Go ahead and get a picture, girls. You keep making plans.
Visit ohiohealth.com/keepmakingplans.
When it comes to your roofing, siding, or gutter needs, call Newman Roofing. 614-NEW-ROOF. NewmanRoofing.com.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car can be picked up as soon as the next day. Receive a tax deduction and vacation voucher.
1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
Broadcasting from the Lindsay Honda Studios.
Honda makes the cars. Lindsay makes the difference. Visit lindsayhonda.com.
WBNS-FM, HD1 Columbus. The Fan. Sports Center.
Good afternoon. I'm Dylan Gonzalez. NBA Finals Game 2 is tonight in Oklahoma City as the Thunder host the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers are up 1-0 in the series, but Tyrese Halliburton is expecting the Thunder to bring their best tonight on their home floor.
We're expecting a big punch and a response. They're going to be prepared. The interesting part about these finals, different than even the conference finals, was we had a day in between every game. So there wasn't a lot of time to rest on your laurels or rest when things were going good and feel good about yourself, And we're doing everything we can as a group to just live in the present.
Coverage for Game 2 begins at 7 o'clock right here on The Fan. The Cleveland Guardians lost a tough one 5-3 in 10 innings versus the Houston Astros yesterday. They will try to avoid the series sweep against the Stros this afternoon. The Reds were also in action yesterday. They lit up the scoreboard and beat the Arizona Diamondbacks 13-1. The Reds will go for the series sweep today. Coverage begins at 1:10 after the conclusion of Fan Sports Sunday.
Sports talk, weekend style. You're listening to Fan Sports Sunday.
Got you just for a few more minutes here on The Fan. He is Tim May. I am Matt Fontaine. As you're there, we do have the Reds and Diamondbacks coming up. And then tonight, Game 2 of the NBA Finals. So we got you locked and loaded on a beautiful Sunday. Happy to have you alongside. So we're talking about a make-or-break article from Nick Shook on NFL.com where he listed a lot of different players saying that 2025 it's one of those crossroad years. Could really tell about where your career is going to go. Quite a few Buckeyes on there. So we had a great discussion about Justin Fields. A few more on the list here, Tim. Another one that's very close to home just because he's playing in Cleveland, and that's DeJuan Jones. And obviously, I'm up here in Cleveland. I cover the Browns, and when they drafted DeJuan Jones and he put the rookie year that he did in, everybody goes, wow, what a steal this guy could be. Then injuries hit. He's battled the weights. He looks good now. He said he's down body fat and he's looking good. But, there was an idea that they might have found their future left tackle for the next 7 to 8 years. And now some people are just kind of wondering it. They had to get rid of Jed Wills, Jack Conklin. Who knows? This is a massive year for DeJuan Jones up here in Cleveland.
Well, when he was at right tackle there, that rookie year, he showed his worth, in my opinion, by the way he, in essence, shut out T.J. Watt. Yeah. The guy can play. He is massive, doesn't come close to saying what it's like to stand next to DeJuan Jones. I'm 6'2", weigh about 200 pounds, and when you look up at this guy, you go, wow.
It's so funny you say that I've been doing this I know you've been doing this a long time too, and we have come across athletes that you look at and you're like, wow, basketball players a lot. Tim, I can't tell you I've ever seen a human being that looks like DeJuan Jones.
Yeah, maybe Shaq.
I have never seen
Shaq's
like that.
Shaq's a pretty large man to stand next to also.
True.
But
I've not stood next to Shaq.
But getting back to DeJuan, I think, I don't think you give up on him after 3 years, after 2.5 years. This guy, I'm not sure make or break is fair for him because I think when he's healthy, he's been pretty good. And he played pretty well right out of the gate, till he got banged up and stuff. Big guys, with long legs and knees that are out there all the time. You're going to get banged up, that's for sure. But I like his upside. I think he could be a long-time pro. I really thought the Kansas City Chiefs were going to take him for that right tackle spot, a couple of years ago. They didn't. They passed on that. But I like his upside, so I'll just leave it at that.
Next up on the list to make or break for this season, some former Buckeyes. Marshon Lattimore, who got traded. He got over to Washington. He's on a playoff type of team. And this is one that, again, has battled some injuries and certainly battled them a lot last year. But, Tim, this is one that I'm kind of with you, Burrow, but DeJuan Jones. I don't see this as a make or break year for Marshon Lattimore. I think he's really good, and he's just run into some injuries.
Yeah. Well, the thing about Marshon Lattimore, he's already made it.
Yeah.
So putting him on make or break is a little bit of a push. I would think it would be more like Joey Bosa would be on that list more than Marshon Lattimore, but because Joey Bosa's seldom had a full season. But when he's really good, when he's good to go, he's really good. But Marshon Lattimore, he's already got a resume to be proud of, and when he is healthy, he's one of the elite corners in the game. Very valuable to whatever team he's on. So, what you just hope for him is that physically it may be a make or break year. You hope he stays healthy. He came to Ohio State and had a chronic problem that they finally had to deal with. And when they did, he was a totally different player. And so now, I just want him to be healthy because he's a tremendous cornerback.
Well, speaking of health, the other Buckeye on this list of a make-or-break season coming up is Chris Olave. And the scary thing is that concussions can take different times to heal, and obviously he just was shut down last year from the Saints, which I thought was such the right move. You know, sometimes you get this line, and again, speaking of a former Buckeye up here in Cleveland with Denzel Ward, where once you get one, it's easier to get another, and sometimes guys come back before they really should. Like, I hope that Chris Olave getting shut down at the end of last year can kind of flush this out, but knowing, Tim, that there's no way to make it completely safe, and it's not like a broken arm that once it heals, it heals.
Right.
And I just think it's scary because, again, we see how good he can be when he's out there. It just comes back to a health thing, and there's no really way to guarantee anything about that.
Right. I mean, the bottom line is you never, I'm not going to try to sound like a doctor here, but I don't think you ever totally ever heal from concussions. Sure. Meaning, and they mount up. I mean, the guy I've got my eye on going into the season, like, is Tua Tagovailoa. He's had a few, man, and sometimes it just takes hitting the ground. You don't even have to hit your head, hit the ground the wrong way, as we saw with him last year, and same with Chris Olave. You never know what play is going to be your last in terms of for an extended period or the season. You know, Troy Aikman had to finally quit the game because of it, and you don't want to push that envelope also. But Chris Olave, man, when he's healthy and good to go, you know, like I said about Marshawn Lattimore, he's among the elite in the game, and you just hate to see a career cut short. But cutting the career short beats cutting the other aspect short, which is your life and your well-being. So yeah, you always have to be on top of things, and teams that, you know, keep Chris Olave around because he may skate right through a season and not have another concussion. You never know, but it's the weirdest head bump sometimes that turn those into 3, 4, 5 games out, or maybe the rest of the year.
And the tough part is for a young man, or really any player, then it kind of maybe could change how you play the game, or some of that can be on the defensive side, tackling, or
correct,
you know, things like that. But on the offensive side, you know, you catch the football, you're trying to turn up the field, and to your point, the guy you don't see coming, or just weird things can happen, and it's just unfortunate, you know, for a guy like him to have to face that. And that's, again, it's make or break, and I get why Nick put it on there for Chris Olave, but it's like, that's not a skill thing. Like, I think about the make or break thing about, like, oh, this guy's been up and down in their career skill. It's like, no, like, Chris Olave's out there, he's pretty good. This is just something that's unfortunately kind of out of his control.
Yeah, you can't put a Band-Aid on a concussion. Let's put it that way. I mean, you know, and there's been so much technology that's come along in the last 10 years in terms of helmets, for example. But like I said, sometimes just a collision where your head isn't even hit, but your brain kind of like moves around can exacerbate the situation. So, yeah, there's no way to look really inside a person's brain and really forecast things in one form or fashion except for repetition. And repetition is what of concussions is what really puts you in jeopardy.
Absolutely. So, again, that was a great article there from NFL.com running through some of the make-or-break seasons coming up and a few Buckeyes on the list. Really appreciate everybody joining us. Of course, a lot of conversation, Tim's going to be coming up this week on The Fan about, you know, the change in the NCAA and what that means kind of for Ohio State. And I do think it's so interesting that we're getting to the summertime when school's kind of getting out and getting things figured out, to see really what comes next with the NCAA and how much can change.
Well, July 1 was seen as the start of all this. You know, They were just waiting for the judge to bring it around. By the way, I'm headed to the U.S. Open to be a volunteer again for the 4th straight year. So
nice.
That's what my week's going to be all about over at Oakmont.
Fun. Stay out of the rough. 5 inches, Tim. 5.
Oh, man. Oh, watch Bryson DeChambeau's preview video on YouTube, folks, if you want to get an idea about the rough and stuff. But I've got a Crushers cap on right now. I'm kind of in the DeChambeau camp in terms of, I think this guy's on a really special part of his career right now.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So, yeah, that's coming up right outside. And, of course, we got plenty of Reds, Guardians. We got NBA Finals. And speaking of that, Reds, Diamondbacks coming away as soon as we wrap up here. And then later tonight, Don't want to miss it. Game 2 coverage starts at 7 o'clock right here on the Fan for Game 2 between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch that, and we got you locked all day with all your coverage right here on the Fan. Tim, always a pleasure, man. Enjoy Oakmont. That is so awesome. Dylan, appreciate all your work as always. And again, keep it locked here on the Fan. We got Reds and Diamondbacks coming your way next.